Veterinary medicine is a messy business, both physically and emotionally. Vetsplaining is one veterinarian's attempt to explain and understand her own profession a little better. Join Dr. Lisa McFadden as she delves deep into the medical and business aspects of veterinary medicine. Welcome back to part 2 of my interview with Dr. Loenser from AHA. We are going to discuss Connexity, which is AHA's awesome veterinary conference. It's going to be its second year this year. And we're also going to talk about Petwell's partnership with AHA and the accreditation process that was created as well as has been started so that parent companies of veterinary companies can also, as a separate entity, be accredited by the American Animal Hospital Association. Just to let you know, there is one little part where it's a little jumpy. Skype kind of froze up like Maximilian from those old Pepsi commercials, if you remember. I did the best I could with my amateur editing skills, but it was a great interview, and I hope you guys enjoy. So I'm gonna switch it up, and we're gonna talk about Connexity.
Sure.
I don't know if you remember, I came up to you after one of the talks because you were talking about your daughter and empathy.
Yeah.
I was that weird one in the back knitting.
No, that's awesome. We should have more of that. There should be a knitting corner this year.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll teach.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
So I'm with Petwell, which AHA knows. Yeah. And I would like to talk about the relationship as well. I was told by David Mervin, who is one of the founders of Petwell, that I was going to be going to Connexity. And I'm one of those people that I like to be involved and, I like to be part of the group. And I was like, yay, Connexity, what is that? And so then I went and I read about it and I said, oh, this is okay. Because in my head, I'm thinking it's going to be medical and it's going to be, I'm going to continue to improve the profession. And I had listened to I like to listen to a lot of audiobooks and I like to learn and I like to improve, mentally, physically, emotionally. But I had never really thought about that aspect in veterinary medicine. And so when I read the descriptions, I thought, oh, okay, well, I feel like maybe the practice manager should be the one to go. And I just wasn't really expecting very much. And I have to commend you guys because it was hands down the best conference I've ever been to. And I absolutely loved it. Like it was one of those moments where I was in the right place at the right time. And the keynote speakers were amazing. And was his name Kevin Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah. So his speech was it just hit me to the core. And I'm one of those people where if I get really, really emotional, like really happy, really upset, like I either like leak. It's not even crying. It's just like leaking fluids from all orifices. Or I like get really loud, and so it didn't seem like the right time to get really loud, and so I went and waited in line, and I didn't even really want to buy the book. I just wanted to thank him, but I was always taught like you should bring something to someone who you think has done a really good job. So I'm standing in line making him this origami crane because Japanese culture, it brings luck and clarity, and so I get up and right when I get up to the table they say, oh, we just sold out. And I, at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get a book. And then I was a little sad, but I said, you know what? My whole goal is to give him this crane and to tell him he did a great job. So I tried to hand him the crane, and I literally just was like, and it was just total ugly crying. And I said, you did such a good job. Thank you. And then I try and like give him this crane, and it was really embarrassing, which is why I'm now retelling it for. I did like that you said listeners. That was really nice instead of listener. But I thought it was so amazing. And I am so glad that I went because it's given me such a clearer perspective of how I want our hospital to be. And we're not perfect and we definitely have room to continue to grow. But I wanted to thank you guys because I never would have thought that that's what I needed. And from day one, and I promise this is the last story and then I'll let you talk. But, so most veterinary conferences, when you go, like it's very, and they're boring and there's these big, displays in the back, like the screens, and then there's one person wearing a suit and then like a very bored looking moderator sitting next to them, and they get up and they drone about the person that's going to talk, and then they talk, and usually it's crowded and you can't move, and we get into this, I guess it was one of the main ballrooms, and there's this like, even just having a 3-dimensional screen in the back to me was so like visually pleasing. And then all of a sudden there's like a light show and music. And I was like, what the hell am I getting myself into? Because at first I was like, this is so weird. But it was so cool. Like it totally worked because just from the very beginning, it caught your eye. So tell us about it. How'd you guys?
Thank you for saying all of that. And it's, oh my gosh. Like, I think most people can relate to the fear of like planning a party and having nobody come, right? And so that was my fear because AHA for eons did a beautiful conference. It was always in March or April. It was a nice mixture of business and practice and had a big exhibit hall, and AHA people loved going because they could bump into each other again, but people that didn't belong to AHA could go too. And like, we were good at it. And we were like, depending on who you talk to, like the best conference or like the top 3 out of 4. But we made this huge cosmic shift to be like, we're going to focus more on our members. We're going to be hyper focused on our members. And how can we be hyper focused if we don't make something that's just for them? And I'm thinking, sure, we can make like t-shirts or sticky notes, but we're like, no, we're going to make a conference. So that was all fine and dandy. It made sense academically. But then when we got and this is from the board level, when we got the idea that it's not going to be scientific, I'm like, nobody is going to come. Why? Because the whole idea of leaving your house and your practice and hiring relief doctors or just, being short-staffed to go learn about stuff that, isn't directly related to medicine is really, I think a lot of veterinarians struggle with that. I did. I was like, nobody's going to come. Nobody's going to come. And if they do, like, these are veterinarians and they are not going to like this stuff. And there's the one thing about AHA members that is pretty universal, is that they are high performers and they want the best. So I'm like, okay, so they're not going to come. And if they do come, they're going to think this is weird. And then they're going to complain. And then I hear hey, Heather, can you go on stage and, talk during Connexity and be sort of the face of it? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get stuff thrown at me. Like, this is the end. So it was like petrifying and exhilarating, like at the same time. It was like jumping out of an airplane and being pretty sure you packed your parachute, but you couldn't actually feel, you thought it was back there, but you weren't entirely sure. So and I'm so glad you had a wonderful time because so many people did have a wonderful time. And I was blown away by, and like just so impressed with our staff and with our members. And yes, I was impressed with the keynotes. That's also their job though. Wow. So that's what they do every day. Like for real, like Kevin Brown, who I adore, and is an incredible human being. He says the same speech. He's saying the same speech right now that he did for us in Milwaukee, so he's so good at that. So they were going to be awesome. I knew they were going to be awesome. I just didn't know how the profession was going to respond. And yeah, it was a great response. And we're planning the second one right now. And it's going really well. Like we survey, we're big into surveys. So we surveyed our members last year to kind of get an idea of what we wanted them to talk, what they wanted to hear. And the big focus of Connexity 2018 was on culture. And a lot of that was because we were focusing on all our healthy workplace culture stuff. And that was just top of mind for everybody. So then we got the feedback that, yes, thank you, but we're a little cultured out. So we don't really want to talk about culture anymore, which is interesting because everybody still needs to work on their culture. But I think veterinarians are like, check the box, know about that, moving on, right? Even though there's more stuff we obviously also need to learn. So the focus this year is, again, based off of the feedback from last year, was thank you for talking about the stuff that you did. But like, what do I do? Like, how do I get the people to change? And of course, it's others. It's never them. It's never ourselves. How do I get, my staff to be better? How do I get them to listen to me better? How can I influence change and create change in my practice? So that is the whole focus of this year is innovation, embracing innovation and embracing change, and how to help move people in a direction of change. So that's really scary too, from a topic to discuss with veterinarians, because we are not early adapters. We're just not. New drugs come out, even if they're good, and most of the profession will wait and hold back and wait before they start using them. There are very few that jump right on the bandwagon for anything. So this is going to be really interesting to see what the response is for giving people tools to help change themselves and their team and also and their practice. So it'll still kind of be sort of there'll be focuses on the individual, your team, and then the practice as a whole. I'm really excited.
Yeah. I'm trying to get David to send me again. So
good. Well, good. I think you should.
I keep dropping really obvious hints.
Yeah.
Like, who have you picked, David? Who's going, David? What time should I pack?
Right. Well, one of the things that we haven't pushed it out yet, but one of the things that we want to do is to have like on a Connexity 2018 alumni paired with Baby Connexity 2019 guests, right?
Yeah.
So he might not know that yet, but you could volunteer to be one of the Petwell alumni.
Yeah, it'll look weird if I don't show up.
Totally. Because you've always been there. So
exactly.
It would be
beginning.
Yeah, it would be so weird to not have you there.
I also liked the forced interaction at the end of the day, because honestly, it's the only way to do it. You know, because again, like we could be in. Because if you're in a room of 100 people, right, and one veterinarian, you're not even going to make eye contact with anybody. You're just going to like beeline for that. And I liked that you guys. So what you did was at the end of the day, we were back in that bigger room, and we had, I don't know, it was between 6 and 8 people at a table that you didn't know. You weren't allowed to know them ahead of time, and we had to do these activities, which were really cool. I think you should do more of that. That was pretty cool.
So that was either really the best thing or like really the worst thing, depending on who you were at this conference. Yeah. So I had a blast putting it together because I actually put those groups together myself, because there were some people that I wanted everybody not to know each other. And there were certain people I knew and I liked, and I knew they didn't know that person, and I wanted them to get to know that person. So I planted them together. And that was really fun for me to watch them interact with each other. So it's called facilitated networking.
Oh.
And yes, we'll be doing that again this time as well. We won't be forcing them quite as much.
I liked that part.
I did too. Trust me, I did too. I think you and I are in the minority though. But one of the activity that we did that I really thought was just going to be like a gee whiz, like whatever, was when we had all the groups that were all sitting together. They were all grouped together in animals, and we had them like decorate the sign that had their animal on it. And I'm thinking, and if you won the contest, we decided to have a big prize, which is registration for Connexity next year. So when you're holding that poster, it's actually worth several hundreds of dollars, right? And I'm thinking, how into it are veterinarians going to be? Because in one thing, like that's a lot of money. So, and veterinarians, myself included, we are cheap. So we will do what we can to save money, right? So, but I'm like, but will they like craft and like glue and like color for money? I don't know. So that was just like totally just it was my own little social experiment. Would they go crazy? I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I do.
Like they went out and like to Michael's. We're in the middle of downtown Denver. I don't know where any of these stores are. And they come back with like lights. Do you remember they had like neon lights that were like woven into their poster? And there was one group that they like made a fold out. Instead of it just being an 8x12 piece of paper, they just kept taping more like pieces of paper on. So this ended up being this like human-sized polar bear that they made. Like I was completely blown away by like the creativity and the fun that these people had. And so I'm curious to see what we do this year. Because that was, again, you just throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks, right? And you cannot please everybody in any group, let alone a group of 500 people. But it warmed my heart to see people talking to each other and being like creative and crazy together. I just thought that was so stinking cool.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts. I was a little bitter because I didn't know we could buy stuff.
It didn't even dawn on me to tell people don't buy stuff or do buy stuff. Because I'm like, we've given them markers and we've given them stickers.